All right, so this is from Adam Driscoll, if I'm saying this correctly. Are you guys going to follow up with the video of Baker from a week or so ago? He has played two, I'll admit, good games against the horrible Raiders, who got someone essentially fired, and the horrible Denver team that got someone fired, and one of two worst QB's performances in Russell and D Cars in those games. People really need to learn how to type. What about the other games? It's the same old Baker, 150 yards, maybe a TD, but just can't get it done. He's a below average starter near the bottom with a flash here and that, and that keeps people like you holding on. Can you make a video on of Baker of how Baker looked against the Chargers? Again, I've heard this all before. I heard it from John himself. He gave the credit to Baker for the Raiders and Broncos game, but then kind of took it back by taking his pot shots. The Raiders game, is anybody going to sit here and argue that the Raiders have a good defense? No, nobody's going to sit here and argue that point. Do they have two pass rushers? One that was looked at as a great pass rusher before, and the other one who's looked at as a great pass rusher now, on the borderline of possibly elite? Yeah. Are they like 31st in the league in sacks? 100%. Was Baker coming into that game off of less than 48 hours notice with no playbook really to read, didn't know much about anything? The Rams team that Justin went over, Cooper Kupp play that game? No. Allen Robinson? No. Aaron Donald? No. The offensive line that was horrible the entire year that they played. His best offensive weapon was Tyler Higbee, and he drove 98 yards, an NFL record for longest drive in a game-winning drive to win the game. I'm sorry, that was redundant there, but you know what I'm saying. All right. Then he has a low game against the Packers the next week, right? The Packers were starting to hit on all cylinders at that point. The defense was starting to play a lot better. They were playing for playoff spots, so I'm not going to fault Baker. And I said on the show last episode, I said the Rams have been hot and cold. Then they come, and I will refuse to people take away the Broncos game. People said that there was an unmotivated team. That team didn't care or anything. Uh, I'm sorry, is that the same team that took the Chargers to the brink and beat the Chargers in Week 18? Is that the same team that took the Chiefs to their best to the brink of both games? They almost beat the freaking Chiefs twice. That team, that unmotivated team, a team with a top five defense in the league, a team that's arguably the best
Not on that day.
secondary. Huh?
Not necessarily on that day when Russell Wilson was handpicking on Christmas Day for them.
But that doesn't mean anything when
Yeah.
Baker has to go against that defense. See, that's what I'm saying. You're trying to take away from what the offense did, but not looking at what the defense. The whole year, John, they had to play with Russell Wilson playing bad. The whole
No
year.
doubt, but for the
And the
opposing
defense still
quarterback,
played
when you're
elite.
starting possessions in the opponent territory and
But they
sometimes in
had
the
to do
red
that all
zone,
season, and they were successful.
I don't really care about Denver. This is about Baker Mayfield. You're a guy. This, all right,
What do
relax.
you mean you don't care about? That's a
That
game you
game for
played into.
Baker was a pretty good example of a domineering defensive performance. And much like that Steelers game in the playoffs, we saw Baker thrive off of four turnovers by Pittsburgh. His highest moments, he's had great support. There's no denying he's had a ton of help, both on the offense and on the defense. But this comment's asking you, it's pretty straightforward. Where does Baker rank among quarterbacks in the NFL? Is he a below average starter among guys that have proven themselves right now after seeing the end of the season? Would Baker be in your top 15? Outside your top 15? Would he be in the top 20? Or is he
Yes.
still a guy that can kind of climb to the top 12, similar to what Tua did this season?
For me, Baker's right around 15 or 16 right now. I would
Who's
take
going
him
to have a
over a
bit? I want
lot
to
of.
ask you this. So you've often said that Baker's a better quarterback than Tua, who to
Mhm.
most of us is at least top 20. If you're the biggest Tua skeptic, you'll acknowledge he's top 20 in the league. Tua for me is top 15. So who do you think's going to have a better year next season? Let's say Baker Mayfield starts half the year, kind of Jameis Winston style, starts 8 games, or Tua in Miami. Which one do you think will have a better season? The
Well, I
NFL
don't.
is a year to year thing that'll really dictate where we rank those two guys. Who's going to be better in
Well,
2023?
where the hell is Baker playing?
Los Angeles, he'll resign. Let's say Stafford gets banged up and Baker plays in 8 games instead of 17.
With Sean McVay as head coach.
Yeah, we'll
I
go
mean,
with McVay. I think he's
there's so many variables.
this is
It's
a
not
pure
really.
hypothetical.
I understand that, but like, there's so.
Just take Matt Stafford out of it, and why don't you say if Baker Mayfield is the starting quarterback of the Rams next season? Just
All things considered, if let's go into this hypothetical, everybody's healthy. All right, we're living in fairy tale land.
Mhm.
Baker Mayfield will have I believe will have a better can have a better season than Tua Tagovailoa next year.
With those weapons Miami has, Tyreek and Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, I mean Cooper Kupp is still on the Rams, right? We're going off of hypothetical. I mean, there are moves that can be made. I think Allen Robinson is most likely going to get moved on from this year. They're probably going to replace him with somebody. I don't know who, but that's what I'm saying. A lot of like obviously Tua has the favorable. He has the stability. He has the better offensive line. He has the better run game. He has the better receiving weapons. He has got the better everything on that team. But I believe in Baker. I believe that Sean McVay, if back, can make a better. But see, here's the thing. I just don't. I don't believe. I don't believe that Stafford's gonna. I think Stafford's gonna be back. So I don't think Baker's going to be in LA. That's my whole thing. And if you ask me where is he going to be, I don't know because I don't know who's on the look to get Baker right now. Free agency hasn't started. I can't. Muted.
What's the best destination for Baker Mayfield next season?
Can you guys throw me some options? Because I'm not really like thinking off the top of my head right
New
now.
York
I'll give you
Jets.
a couple. Okay, you got
The
Yeah,
Jets, no, I don't like the Jets. I mean, we
you.
did this
Giants.
before. We did this before.
We
The
did.
Giants, no,
But which
no.
one's the best one? Washington.
God bless you.
That was that was my father.
um, Washington. I like Washington. It's not bad.
Seattle.
Um, I like Seattle, but Seattle did them dirty. Um,
Those are the teams that would be interested. Those
Yeah.
Las Vegas.
mm,
I actually
no,
that might grow on me.
no.
And
'Cause
it's not just
I don't
because
know
I'm
who's
very
gonna be
mad.
there. Is Darren Waller gonna be there? He's been on the trade block for seems like 2 years now.
Hmm.
Is Devontae Adams going to get frustrated and be like, "I want the hell out of the Raiders"? So
I think
again,
Devontae would already be frustrated.
yeah. There's so many hypotheticals with that. I mean, if I was the GM for the Dolphins, I would go get Baker Mayfield because again, we don't even know if Tua is going to be all prayers up to him, but we don't know how his health is going. We don't know if he's going to play next
Maybe
season.
starting next week, yeah.
There's
Yeah,
no
so
doubt. But
I said next
Baker's a
season,
quarterback
maybe.
that's had injuries, and a lot of them as well. He had 3 his last year in Cleveland, the
Yeah,
shoulder,
but they weren't
knee,
concussions,
the
Don, and
ribs.
a brain injury is much, much more severe
I
than
understand this isn't really about Tua. We're talking about Baker Mayfield and what his career is going to look like from this.
talking about Baker. I have no idea because it's so unpredictable right now. A lot of things have to play out in the NFL. A lot of things have to play out these upcoming, weeks to come. Head coaches getting put into place, retirements. If there may be some, there's so many things that right now I just can't give you a clear answer on what will Baker look like. I have faith and I believe in Baker. I just don't know what it's going to be next year.
It's so tough, especially after the Sunday night football game. That scene of Jamison Williams going up to Aaron Rodgers, asking him for his jersey, and Rodgers saying, "I think I'm gonna hold on to this one." Makes you ponder what this offseason's market is gonna look like, and Aaron Rodgers is gonna be the one to shake that up because we've said Rodgers could be a fit with the Giant. I mean, not with the Giants, but with the Jets. Uh, Maybe him in Vegas, it could be a possibility. So we don't know what doors will be even open for a Baker Mayfield. A place like the Jets. I've always said Baker has a New York personality. I would love to see that guy playing in the Big Apple. Um, you could see him go to a place like Indianapolis, who's looking probably for another veteran quarterback, not too far off. There's so many places that you can throw him. I mean, I could go as far to even say the Saints. The Saints seem
Oh
like a good
God,
fit.
no. Oh God, no.
No, why not? He
The
gets to play with
offense sucks.
Kamara,
No, Kamara's
Olave,
probably on his
He
way
dealt with a
out.
lot of injuries
decent
this
O
season.
line.
No, the Kamara's probably on his way out. Michael Thomas is probably on his way out. Nah, no. Dennis Allen probably next year. I think they're gonna have a down year next year, and I think Dennis Allen's probably gonna be out again. So it's another head coach. That's what I'm saying. I want Baker to go somewhere where there's going to be stability there. So,
But I mean,
Like Baker needs more than that, though, Brand, doesn't he?
well, obviously, but number one, I want stability first and foremost. Okay, because that's been something that he has not had. That's what I want first and
To be
foremost.
fair, Baker did have it a second season in Cleveland.
So you mean his third and fourth?
His
With
second year of
Stefanski.
Kevin Stefanski, excuse me.
Okay, yeah. He did, but again, he got injured, like you said. He in the second week of the season, he fractured his shoulder.
And he could have stayed in Cleveland, but he
No, he
wanted
couldn't
out.
have stayed in Cleveland because they wanted Deshaun Watson,
But
John.
he knew we went into this. He knew
Yeah,
Deshaun was
and
not going to play.
you're not making a smart argument when you say that. You really have to think about that argument that you
If
make.
Baker didn't have stability and he was going on a contract year looking for generational wealth, it would make sense to stay in that same system that you've been in now for 2 years with all those players you've built chemistry
Not
with.
if they don't
If
want you
you were a
there.
healthy QB. But it's business, the NFL. You're not a
Why
reason.
be somewhere you don't want it? You're going to be miserable every single day. Have you ever worked
This
at
is
a
the
place that you
NFL, Brand.
want?
This isn't making friends. It's
That
about
doesn't matter about that. It still matters about how you feel going into. If you don't feel good, you're not going to play that well.
Aaron Rodgers watched the Packers draft the quarterback to replace him, then won 2 MVPs. Jimmy Garoppolo watched the 49ers trade up for Trey Lance with the third overall pick. He hung around, and look what that did to Jimmy Garoppolo's career. Look at Jacoby Brissett.
He hung around because they didn't trade him.
Yeah, I mean, John,
What?
what are we doing?
That was the 49ers' choice to hold on to him. It wasn't his doing.
But
were
what did
trying to get him.
What did Jimmy Garoppolo do? How did he respond after this last offseason where he didn't have access to
playing
He
ball.
was
Yeah,
coming off shoulder surgery. He wasn't even ready for preseason. And what happened? He's come out, and before that injury, he had the 49ers in pretty good position offensively.
John, have you ever worked at because I am speaking from experience here that I worked at a place for over a year and a half where I was miserable basically every day I went into work. If you don't know that experience, then I'm sorry you can't speak on that type of experience where you just do not want to be somewhere, but you have to be there. It is miserable. You might be able to put in your best effort, but at the end of the day, you're going to be absolutely miserable. And at the end of the day, these are people. They're human. They feel. And if you don't think Baker's going to come in there and people are just going to be like, we don't want you there. Why be somewhere you don't want it? Why? Why would you do that to yourself?
There was a pretty big want for Baker because they needed a backup quarterback before Deshaun returns.
They didn't want Baker. If they wanted Baker,
they needed Baker.
Went after Deshaun Watson. Baker Mayfield wasn't a third round pick. He was the number one overall pick.
When you need something, you're going to want that. So I looked at Baker, and for me, where's Baker rank in the NFL? I agree. I think Baker is a below average starter because his lows, his inability to really raise a team ceiling, to me, that's what's off-putting. We saw Jared Goff. And what was he in LA? He was a top 12, top 10 quarterback.
He elevated that offense. You're going to sit here and be honest.
And then he had injuries last season with the team. He wasn't able to play in that playoff loss first. So you look at the Rams offense and how successful McVay has been. He almost won a playoff game with John Walford. So I feel like a lot of the credit does get put on Sean McVay, and we leave the rest for Baker because Baker is a player that needs to be in the perfect situation. Everything needs to go right. The same way we talk about a Dak Prescott or a Jared Goff. My biggest gripe is Baker Mayfield, what's his best skill, Brandon? What's he best at?
I think the dog in him. I think his intangibles.
But in terms of his ability on the football field, what does he do best?
That's an ability on the foot. And that is our fundamental difference right there, that you do not believe intangibles is a damn skill
Taylor
on the
Heinicke
field.
has intangibles. What is, for any quarterback, we ask
what they won games. He won games.
Jimmy Garoppolo wins games. So does Kirk Cousins. This year has won a ton.
Not because of again,
what's
the
Baker
point. Those guys don't
skill?
have the intangibles.
His two best skills are his arm strength and his accuracy. His best season, he completed 63% of his passes.
His best skill set was his intangibles. I don't know what you're talking
about. That's
about.
not a skill set.
Yes, it is. That literally is the fundamental reason why Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. What the hell are you?
Why are you so critical of Dan? No, that's Tom Brady is one of the best in terms of pocket presence. He had a great arm, great anticipation.
Also, because of what was in here. This is
But
what you don't understand. You fall in love with this, and you
Daniel
never
Jones
look
has the
here.
intangibles, and you talk about Daniel Jones so poorly. You said he's not a good quarterback, but Daniel Jones is the guy who, coming off a neck injury, got some stability and a quality offensive head coach, and the Giants' offense was winning games with
Still
him
didn't
leading
put
the
up a
way.
better season than what Baker's best season was.
I mean, Baker's
He
never
also
had
didn't have
seven,
Fact.
what was it, 6 game winning? He led the end. It
Well,
was 16-7.
Justin, what were you gonna say? Were you gonna say he
um
didn't have
I'm
receivers?
I'm
Was
not I'm
OBJ?
not
Did
gonna
OBJ not have like 3 surgeries in his years in Cleveland? Jarvis Landry was banged up in damn near every freaking game.
do who is
His running backs were
he
pretty
had
damn
a
good. Saquon Barkley, ring a bell.
his O-line.
His O line was pretty good. The Giants O line has gotten better this year. No,
Are they on the same par as that
I
Cleveland
didn't
Browns?
say that. I said they're getting better. No,
Not even close.
I
okay,
feel like
but I'm
this is a
just saying.
ridiculous conversation. He had
Say,
two
Still,
all-stars,
I'm done
cleared him
talking.
in
awesome
To be honest
numbers.
with you,
receivers.
Still
I'm done
cleared him
talking
in
about
numbers.
Baker because I
Still
listen.
cleared him.
Every time we have a conversation about Baker, I can be positive about him, and then something happens that I end up looking like I'm talking negative.